Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, December 28th, 2025, coming at you live from Bagel Boss in Hewlett. That's right, we are hanging out. It is Bagels after the stable here at Bagel Boss in Hewlett. Looking forward to a great show with Mr. Mikey Carver stepping in for Arthur Staple. How you doing, bud?
Shawnee, it's great to be back with you, especially here at Bagel Boss. I saw Donnie Bagels for the first time in forever.
Yeah,
it's
man
good
on
to
the
see
floors.
him. And good to be here for Arthur
Yes.
today, so which is fun.
And he'll be calling in.
Could be calling in today, and a couple wins also.
Oh, yeah, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah.
That's right. My name is Sean Cuthbert. Thank you so much for joining in here, live at Bagel Boss, or, of course, on YouTube. So before we jump into the show, I want to thank our wonderful sponsors, starting with the great Knock Hockey, the all-time American-made classic. Get your board at knockhockey.com. Also proud to be sponsored by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And if you're hanging out with us live in the chat, you want to get some questions in later, during the Questions Brewing segment, just type in Questions Brewing, followed by your question, and we will field it later on in the show. So, Mikey C., with the pleasantries out of the way. What? Yes, sir.
First of all,
what do you got?
You haven't got me one of those knock hockey boards yet. So I've been waiting for you to get me one of those.
You want one?
Yeah, you got to get me one of those knock hockey boards.
You know what? We can make that happen.
So we'll have
We're
to
gonna work on
to
that.
talk about that.
We absolutely
will get
will.
one, mess around with it in the basement.
Buddy,
all
you
that
know we
stuff.
got a custom Hockey Night in New York one in the studio.
I saw it. I saw the video you put up when you got it.
Yeah, man.
It looks awesome.
Real nice,
Yeah, it
right?
looks
Yeah,
really
they do a
good.
great job over
So,
there.
there you go. I
Love it.
bump
You
them
played
up.
when
Get
you
them
were a
another.
kid. I think we played against each other when we were kids.
We always did, yeah. Back in the day.
A lot of
back
fun.
in the day was a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, way back, way back. All right, buddy, let's talk some Islander hockey. A lot of good news here. Let's go back to the Devil game. But before that, actually, let's look at the record. 21-13-4, 41 points, second in the Metro, third in the Eastern Conference. We're just about at the halfway point here. Did you see this coming, pal?
No. And I know that I haven't talked to you about any of this the first time I've been on with you this season.
Right.
And I haven't dipped my toe in the water and a couple of other things yet. I'm really surprised at how well it's gone.
Right.
If you would have told me they were going to be in second place as we're about to turn the page to 2026, I would have said you're nuts. Now, look, I thought that they could be a team that could play every night,
Sure.
be in every game.
Sure.
But I thought
Which they have.
I thought there'd be more bumps than anything else, and that has not been the case whatsoever. They have pleasantly been a huge surprise. They've played great hockey for long stretches, and
Yeah.
they really haven't had that spurt yet either where, you know, and I think it'd be all right if they did. I wouldn't be upset if they lost a 5 out of 6 or they lost. They've avoided that
So
for
far.
the most
Knock
point.
on wood,
and that's
buddy.
the biggest thing for them so far. This
Yeah,
season.
no, absolutely. Well, let's dive into more recent history. Devil game here, Tuesday the 23rd, 2-1 win. No penalties called in this game. Clean sheet.
That's very rare. They made
Sure
up for
is.
it though in the Ranger game. They made sure to make up for
They certainly did.
the lack
they
of penalties.
absolutely did.
Specifically late in the third period, they made up for it
They
in the Ranger
absolutely
game.
did.
But no, very clean game. You obviously had that was the last game without Horvat too. So
Right.
him not being in the lineup, you've seen the offense dip a little bit, of course, which
Yes.
was expected.
Yes.
And this Rittich has been
Unreal, man.
quite the find
Surely.
for them, especially when you consider Sorokin's your guy,
Right.
and he goes down. And when they signed him in the offseason, you figure it's just, just something to throw on the pile. It's a backup goaltender. You're hoping that you're not going to need much from him just here and there. They've had to rely on him in a couple of spots because Sorokin had a slow start. Now Sorokin's been hurt, and he's been better than I thought he would be.
I
That's
got to
for sure.
say, man, it seems like everything that Darsh touches turns to gold. Like everything that he's done in the offseason.
He's got a little of that right
Drouin,
now.
right? I mean, Drouin's having a solid year.
Yeah.
HNiNY obviously been a revelation.
Well, Heineman's been.
and now
that's-
Rittich has just been unbelievable.
He's been unbelievable
Yeah.
and really out of nowhere. And that's even with the Islanders obviously changing the goaltending guru at the top.
That's right.
And really, if you think
For
about
Ilya,
it,
and that worked.
but if you think about it, even Rittich's been better
Yes,
since that happened
that's a
too.
fact. That's a fact.
You could see a difference in him just over
absolutely
the
right.
last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that was the first week in November that happened, right, where they made that move. It was right around there because that's when Sorokin kind of turned the corner this year and started playing a lot better. But I think it's been better for Rittich too, and he's been really a find. And there's been so many nights where you hear he's starting. This was before Sorokin was hurt. Obviously, you knew he's going to play these last few. But there's been nights where he's starting, and I go, all right. This is if they give this one away tonight. And he's had a couple shutouts. He's had a couple one-goal performances. Like this Devil game on Tuesday night, he had a great performance in that game.
Yes.
Was excellent. They find a way with the late goal by Pelech. It's just unbelievable stuff that every night they're right there to win these games, and they're crossing the line too.
The Devils went up 1-0 on Pesce's first goal of the season because, of course, that's what happens against the Islanders.
Yeah.
First goal of the year, haven't scored in 38 games.
At least it wasn't of his career, because you get those usually too. That's usually another one that you get.
Yes, Holmstrom tied it off a Markstrom gaff playing the puck there, tries to play it up the boards, goes off his own defenseman, right on Holmstrom's stick, puts it in the empty net. And then they play a tie hockey until they basically get to the end there, like you mentioned it, man. Adam Pelech, the big game-winning goal.
Yeah, big game-winning goal, and I'm gonna have a little bit more to say about him later.
Okay.
So I'll kind of hold off on a few of those things with him. But anytime that you can get goals from unexpected sources like that to win a game, like you gotta win those games. Like you just do. And I think we used to talk about this, back in the days where they were making deep playoff runs, those first couple of years with Trotz. I think the biggest thing we always said was when they get contributions from that fourth line, and when that fourth line is scoring, like you got to win those games. Like those are huge things that you get. You got to do it. And I feel like now this is like a similar thing. If you're going to get production, you're going to get a big late third period goal from a guy like that. You got to make sure that you take it and you actually
no
get the
doubt
2
about it.
points off of it.
And speaking of that fourth line, that game you had Cizikas, Gatcomb, just tenacious all game. And even Shabanov, he had a great game too. Even if he didn't get in the score sheet, he's a guy who was all over the ice, back checking, being a pest against the Devils. So you love to see it.
Well, you love to see that because it's made a problem for them now too, right? And this is something that I'll probably ask to Arthur too. Like they're in a situation now where everyone's played so well that they have a problem with who's coming out of the lineup, like who's not going to play. It's who's going to sit now that Horvat's back. Everybody's healthy. Who are the pieces coming in and out?
Yeah,
because Duclair didn't play last night.
Correct.
Right? So
Correct.
you're kind of in a situation where you have too many good forwards. It's not like in the past where you're like, well, this guy's not playing so well. Let's say let's take a 4 or 5 game run with him sitting. Like I don't think you really have anybody that you could do that with right now. You kind of want everybody out there.
Right.
That's
what I was saying, he struggled with who he was going to put out, and he kind of just went with Duclair, but not because Duclair has been playing well, because he has.
Yeah, he's been playing excellent. And listen, I think there's really, and you know me, I like to come in and say bad things about people. It's something
yes,
that I've had a history of doing that.
That's
it's
true,
especially with this team, and I really don't. I can't find a way when it's been as good as this and as unexpected as this. It's hard to do because everybody's pulling the rope, and I love Wah. I know he's not for everybody's taste, but I think Wah's excellent.
Buddy, I
really do.
How can you not look at this body of work here? I mean, you talk about your expectations at the top of the show. You didn't see this coming at all, and you got to give credit where it's due, right? He takes these guys, especially with all the changes that Darch made over the summer. You get Schaefer coming in, obviously he's a blessing. But, Patrick Waugh has this team playing real well, and they're beating top teams.
They won't give it to him because awards in all these sports, it's very, well, it's true. It's very, it can be a little political and can be a little bit of narrative driven and other things. He's the coach of the year in the NHL so far.
Wow.
That's
a bold statement.
He should win the Jack Adams. And listen, there's a few other guys who obviously are in the mix for that. And look, another guy they won't give it to, who should be in the mix too, is Quenneville. They won't give it to him. But Waugh, for other reasons. But Waugh's another guy that has rubbed some people the wrong way around the league, and they might not give it to him.
Sure.
But he should absolutely. If they were doing the voting today, he would, at bare minimum, in my eyes, be one of the 3 finalists.
Well, buddy, you just created a great soundbite for later in the week, pal. We're gonna clip that one. That's for sure.
About him being, I think he is. I think that you have a guy he should be a Jack Adams finalist, and obviously Schaefer should win the Calder. So
I don't think that's
and that's
a question.
not even a question.
He's head and shoulders
when you
above
talk
the
about
Calder.
getting to the halfway point here of guys who should be involved for those type of things, I think Wash should 100% be in that conversation.
I love it. I love to hear it. All right, well, let's move on to last night. But let's start with 104-year-old World War II veteran Dominic Critelli opening the night out with the national anthem playing the saxophone.
That was great.
Amazing. Unbelievable. Did you see it?
I did watch the clip. I saw the clip of it. It was outstanding.
I was in the building.
You were in the
it was
building,
incredible.
and I was going to ask you a little something about that. How was the crowd last night?
So it was a
because
packed
it
building.
Was this is a different type of Islander Ranger game with the Islanders playing so well. I was curious as to what the crowd would be at the stable.
There was plenty of red, white, and blue. However, I would say
you can't keep them all out as much as you want.
No, they live down the block.
They're
everywhere.
Them all out.
What can you
want to
do?
keep them out, but you can't.
They came, but I'll tell you this. Listen, you and I have been to a lot of Islander Ranger games over the years, whether it's at the Coliseum, Barclays, or at UBS.
Yeah.
And I would say that there was plenty of Ranger fans there, but not as many as we've seen in years past. And I think that is a testament to how well the Islanders have been playing, that there were actually Islander fans that wanted to be there.
Right.
And you look at it this way, too. It's Saturday in between, Christmas and New Year's, and, during the holidays, people are off, people are home from school, all that stuff. And the energy was great. And listen, man, you couldn't have started that game off any better with that forecheck and Lee getting that goal just under a minute into the game. So that was incredible. And the energy was great. And it was a tight game. It was entertaining. We had a penalty shot. I mean, you had everything.
You had it all. You really did.
Duel.
And that's how especially it's a great way to start a game when you're playing as a mentally fragile team like the Rangers are right now. And to get that kind of a start against them, and they can't score goals. What a shame it is. But they just can't score goals. So I think that putting a team like that has so much in their mind that they have trouble scoring, and to get them down so early in the game, it's because it's not there with them right now.
And then later in the game, they think they score a goal.
Right.
It goes off two posts. They start celebrating. Goes off two posts, comes out, and play continues. But they whistle it dead. The Islanders are on a rush the other way. Yep. They whistle it dead. They review it. Turns out, no, puck never crossed the line.
Puck never crossed the line. Yeah. No goal. What a shame. Shutout for Rittich in that spot. And man, they sure tried, giving them every chance between penalty shots,
back-to-back penalties
and
at
power
the end
plays,
of the game, man,
and everything. Power play and penalty. I mean, the penalty, which was a
9:18 into the third.
Awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking there, but
and it actually, the long way, it did help the Islanders, to be fair, because the Islanders were on a power play when that was called. It would have negated their power, which they didn't score it anyway, of course, but it would have negated their power play. And you had a guy taking the penalty shot who, he's not an offensively skilled player like that to be able to go and
Carson
do that.
Soucy.
So it was actually kind of a win-win on all fronts for them, especially since Rittich was able to make the stop.
Yeah, I'll take that. And then, just as you said, the Rangers' power play was just as hopeless as the Islanders. So you got 0 for 5 for the Islanders, 0 for 3 for the Rangers.
They got
and
all kinds of problems right now.
They sure do. They sure do.
What a shame. I mean, they got all kinds of problems.
And then Holmstrom seals it with the empty netter, Rittich with the shutout, and you get back-to-back wins against two Metro contenders in regulation.
Yeah.
And before they hit up another one tonight in Columbus.
Hit up another one tonight in Columbus, playing a lot of Metro teams right now. And you bring up a key point here, and it's something that when you're a team that maybe you think you're going to be a wild card team, and you're kind of hanging around, and maybe you're not expected to do big things. Maybe regulation wins don't. It's not something you think. You just think about getting wins. You think about getting 2 points, getting wins, doing all the things. But now that you're in a situation where you're at the top of the division and your whole regulation wins matter a lot
100%.
in that spot. So that it is a good point that they're getting a lot of these with regulation wins too, which is huge.
No doubt about it. Well, folks, that went fast. We got a break for Arthur
It's
Staple.
always fast when I'm here.
Oh, it's true.
When
It's
I'm
always
here,
a good
it goes
time.
Fast.
It goes so fast.
That's how it goes.
Well, folks, want to thank you all for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York here at the Great Bagel Boss in Hewlett. We're going to take that break. When we come back, Arthur Staple will be joining us.
All right, boys, do you remember the game Knock Hockey from when we were kids? It's an absolute legendary game that they stopped making a couple years ago. However, it's back, baby. You can go to knockhockey.com, that's N-O-K hockey.com, and get it for your kids or your nieces and nephews, or some random neighborhood kid, because they're all going to need it, because otherwise they're going to be playing video games for the next 6 months. And if you don't have kids, get it for yourself, or better yet, your girlfriend. She'll be hurt and confused at first, but once she starts slamming that puck around, she's going to love you forever, or at least the game. Go to knockhockey.com. It's a little pricey, I'm not going to lie, but it's made with real wood by hand in Michigan. When's the last time you heard of a product being made like that? This holiday season, be an absolute legend, make everyone happy, bring the family together. Go to knockhockey.com.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The train rolls on here at Hockey Night in New York, coming at you live from Bagel Boston Hewlett. It is now time for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein Attorneys at Law. And joining us is the co-host of Hockey Night in New York, Mr. Arthur Staple. Arthur, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Doing down there at the Bagel Boss?
We're doing great. You know what? Bagels after the stable instead of bagels before the stable, because we were supposed to be here yesterday, but we had some snowstorms, so here we are.
All right. Well, we're snowed in up here a little bit too, and so good to talk and come off such a last night too.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into that. I mean, we were just talking about it before you came on here, and you have two Metro Division foes in the Devils and the Islanders, and they're taking 4 points in regulation. What does that say for you?
Huge, really huge. And you didn't see them at their best with Sorokin missing the Jersey game before the break back, his first game in a few weeks. I think they were okay in both games. More opportunistic than a lot of quantity, but you take it how David Rittich and team defense can't say enough about those two. Their game to pull these games out and put their two biggest rivals more in the rearview mirror. Gotta love it.
Arthur, great to talk to you as always. Mike here. I'm in your spot today. I'm holding it warm for you, Arthur. I'm doing what I can down here at the Bagel Boss with the crew. For me, Rittich, let's talk about him for a moment, because me and Shawnee were just saying, I wasn't expecting much out of him when they signed him in the offseason. Obviously, you need to have a steady backup. You need to have a guy who can come in and get your points when he can. It actually seemed like when they made the goaltending guru changes that they did for Sorokin, it seemed like those also helped Rittich, Arthur. It seemed like even he started playing better when they made all these changes to their goaltending coaching hierarchy.
Yeah. Talk to you, MC. We're all keeping your seat warm. You're the OG, so I'll be back there.
No.
This guy has really been a nice surprise. You looked at some of his Met last few years, not great. Not a guy that you'd say, okay, maybe a situation, he's bounced around a little bit. We can make him into a two. I think the things that he's brought, in addition to what he's done on the ice, great attitude. He's fit in really well with a locker room that's feeling a little bit more. I think he has a lot to do with that, with his kind of laid back attitude. Your personality, but he reminds me a little bit of Thomas Greiss. He just seems like rolls off him. He doesn't need to have a special routine. He's been a starter. He's accepted the role as a backup here. And I think being Ilya Sorokin's backup, as good as been, still means you're going to get a pretty high number of starts for number two. Obviously, this week has shown that you got to be ready to go, because Sorokin has had these kind of week issues at times throughout his career. And I just think he's really able to shake off whatever situation is going on. And I don't know if he's enjoying with Sergei Naumov's as much as Ilya Sorokin is, but whatever's working, it's worked out way better too. And I just think he's really been incredibly solid playing the style that the Islanders want to play, which is a style that you give up some good chances every game, and you're to be on point, and he's definitely been on point.
Yeah, no question about it, Arthur. And just to keep it on the goaltending for a moment, now, this nagging injury of Ilya Sorokin's has now landed him on the IR. Is there any more cause for concern here, or are we going to see him back soon?
When you saw that, I think about it, the initial post by the Islanders saying this is a small nagging injury, and I think the show too. You go into a break as a goalie or any player where you need some. You can't be on the ice for those 3 days. You kind of have a feeling that it's going to be longer than just you're not going to pick up and be ready for the first game out of the break. First time he's going to touch the ice in 72 hours. So unexpected. Patrick Waugh said he could be back Tuesday. He's obviously not going to play today. I'm in a couple hours what Patrick Waugh says, because he did hint that Rittich would go back to back.
Right.
Rittich got knocked around a couple times last night too by the Rangers. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how they handle this. I think if Marcus Hogberg get a game today, it does hint that we need Rittich to be ready for next week too. So I don't know in the next couple hours whether this is something to be stressed about with Sorokin, or whether it really was just a matter of activate Bo Horvat off of IR and not being able to send anybody down or in that kind of situation roster. Yeah, there's always concern when it's a goalie in a situation like this, because the guy is less than 2 years removed from major backs. So you want to make sure that he's fully upright and healthy, because he's been the key to this season so far for me.
Arthur, the last couple of years, it feels like fans have thought that maybe we were getting into the downside, the bad-looking contract of Pelican Pulak. You're paying for all those good years that they had, being the stalwarts back there on the defensive side for those deep runs. But I got to tell you, Arthur, watching both of these guys this year, they've kind of had a little bit of a rebirth. And it's not even just what they do on the ice. I think it's also what they do to help Matthew Schaefer. There's been so much that Pelican Pulak, and they've stayed healthy, things like that. Really nice to see those two guys kind of step back up and have the kind of seasons that they're having for the Isles.
For sure, and I'd kind of reverse that order that you said.
Right.
Health is number one for me.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for those guys when they've missed, and they haven't been guys that have missed like a week or 20 plus games each, at least one of them, and sometimes both of them in the last few years. That is a lot of time for a defenseman who plays big minutes like those two guys do. You got to get in the rhythm, the feel for the game, the way that they defend so hard, or have under Lane Lambert last year. The last couple of the first year, Patrick Waugh, like kind of that Lou Lamoriello style, takes a lot out of your defensemen, and especially the guys that you're relying on to block shots and clear crease and play PK like they do. So when you miss a couple of months, it's almost impossible to get your rhythm back. And I think the health, knock on wood, is certainly number one for those two guys. The mutual situation with Schaefer, where I think they've helped him assimilate into the NHL, and I think he's helped them kind of unlock that puck-carrying mentality, being up in the play, feed a little bit more. It's interesting to see. I feel like those two guys have had that at times throughout their career, Polak especially, but they haven't really accentuated it in previous years. I think now everybody's kind of getting into the act, trying to be up in the play fast, not spending so much time wearing yourself out in the D zone, and it's really benefited the two of them for sure. And I think for me, Adam Pelech, back, and this maybe is a little bit of a stretch, but you think back to the Olympic days of early 2000s when the NHL players were first there, they always took a guy like Adam Foote, or especially in Canada, they always had that stay-at-home guy. Right. If we were back 20 years ago and Adam Pelech was now, he'd be in that conversation for the Olympics for me, for sure, because he is just such a steady guy who's used to facing everybody's best and handling it and getting the puck back up the ice. That's a guy you win with at that level. So, again, we're not in that era anymore, so it's too bad. But it is interesting to see his, like you said, his rebirth for sure, as a guy who's a real shutdown guy, and obviously something that they need on this team.
Yeah, Arthur, that's a great point about the Olympics. And hey, he's scoring big game-winning goals these days, so, I mean, maybe they do need him. But
let's not get ahead of ourselves on the offense part.
Speaking of a rebirth, but let's keep it on the D for a second here. Marshall Warren gets back into the lineup. Is he earning a longer look? He had a nice little rush there. I mean, he only gets 8 minutes last night, but he's impressing me in the short time that he's getting, and you know, especially seeing that confidence last night with that rush up to the net. Of course, he doesn't put it in the net, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him, and maybe he can stay in this lineup a little longer than we thought.
Yeah, you know, and I think we saw it in his first stint too, where he's not backing down from anybody. He's getting in people's faces a little bit too. That Matt Rempe kind of instigated Strom at Rittich's net last night. He's right in there grabbing some jersey. You know, that's you're facing Goliath there. You don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to mess with those with that bull's horns with Rempe, but he doesn't back down from any situation. I think a lot like Mark Gatcomb for me. He understands what he's here to do. He's not gonna be a 20-minute guy. He's gonna get a few shifts. They might skip him sometimes. So when you're out there, you got to not just be solid, but be engaged, be physical, use your speed, get up the ice, maybe create something when you're out there. Most likely with the fourth line in that trio that you got in front of you. So I think a lot of being in that spot is accepting your role, and I think he's accepted it really well. If he can defend as strong, and if they can play as strong defensively as they've played in these couple of games, yeah, for sure. You know, he won't get major minutes. Maybe he can get a little bit more. But it does maybe alleviate the need for Matthew Darche to go out and find another defenseman before the deadline if Marshall Warren can fill that role. It's like I said, it's not a huge role, but it's an important one, and he's doing it really well.
He certainly is. It helps you got another guy who's playing 30 minutes. I mean, Schaefer's played 27 minutes last night, which is just which is wild. Arthur, I was telling Shawnee before, he was asking me, we were talking about Waugh a little bit, and I said, I know we're halfway there, and there's a long time to go before the end of the season when you get to awards and things like that. But I think Waugh is actually, if he's not the Jack Adams right now, he should at minimum be in the top 3 as a finalist for the job that he's done. I'm always a guy, Arthur, that feels in any sport, it's the coach that does the most with the least or had the lowest expectations and took them higher. And I know Bednar, look, when you've lost 2 games in regulation, it's hard to argue with the kind of job a guy's doing. And I know Hines in Minnesota is doing a great job. But I think Waugh's got to be right there right now. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a funny award, and I'm sure considering the last time he won it, he was out of a job a couple of years later. Maybe he doesn't want to be in the running this time.
That's true.
But I think you look at, you know, to me this year, when the season started, you were definitely looking at first-time guys like Marco Sturm in Boston, Dan Hughes in Pittsburgh. I think those teams are kind of falling back to more of a spot where we thought they'd be this season. And you've got Bednar, obviously. You've got Glenn Galitzin in Dallas, who's right behind Colorado, they're having an awesome season. And probably John Cooper. You know, speaking of doing a lot with a little, Tampa's been crushed by injuries, and they are somehow still sitting atop the Atlantic where they've always been. Todd McClellan's probably in the mix too, get Detroit into a good spot. But I think you don't have to look too far to kind of find other candidates to put in front of Waugh. He's definitely, if you're making a list of 5, I know it's 3 finalists, but he'll get some votes for sure. I think like you nailed it. Mike, it's a matter of what were the expectations on this team,
right?
And they were non-existent. And I understand that a lot of it has to do with Schaefer, and certainly when you're talking about awards, there shouldn't even be another vote for anybody besides him for the Calder.
Yes.
So I think it'll be in tough to really get a lot of first place votes unless they really tear it up in the second half. But sure, he's done a really good job. And I think, you know, we talked about it with Ethan Sears last weekend. Shawnee and I did. He's changed, you know, Patrick Waugh. He's changed his approach, I think, to the players this offseason. I think he's really embracing a lot more positive concepts than he has in years past, and it's certainly working for him. So I think when you talk about a coach who's been a coach for a long time at whatever level, that's able to change and adapt and then having success, for me, he deserves some votes for sure.
Yeah, for sure, Arthur. We talked about that a little bit too last week, and I think you got to give him a lot of credit with all the changes that Darche made over the summer and how he's been able to incorporate his system to have this unexpected success. But speaking of all of that, and this has kind of been a theme on the show too between the two of us, just talking about how tight this league has been, and not just the Eastern Conference, but we'll focus in on that. I mean, it's crazy to me now that we're nearing that 41-game mark of the season, and the Islanders are sitting pretty, if you will, second in the Metro, third in the East in points, but you have a bad week, and you can still fall out of the playoffs. I don't remember ever seeing this happening this late into a season. What do you make of it?
It's pretty wild, and the consistency part of it is so interesting to me that you've got a Sabres team that's won 8 in a row and they still haven't made it above the cut line. And it's not like they were 10 games under when they started the streak, but it's like quicksand. It really is.
Yeah.
It's so hard to climb up. You look at the Leafs, we don't expect them to be where they are. They won 2 in a row. They're still sitting in 15th. It's pretty crazy that you really need to not just rip off some wins, but do it in regulation, get some of your rivals to lose some games, because it's such a mushy mess from 1 to 16, really. You look at the standings, all right, the Islanders are in Columbus tonight. They're 10 points clear of these guys, but Columbus is a straight up 500 team, according to the NHL.
That's right.
And if they were in the West, they'd be a point out of the playoffs, or by points per, they'd be right there, because 500 has that last wild card spot in the West. So I'm interested to see, as we start piling up some games, if the Islanders they're in such a good spot, they can afford to lose a couple in a row like they did the previous week. Now they've bounced back. If they win this one today, and suddenly you get to that halfway mark on a 98-point pace, 100-point pace, the cut line is going to be a pretty high number this year. But it also says that if you are able to get in, it's 8 teams that you just put in a hat, because nobody, home ice, whatever. This is the year where that mantra of just get in, I think it's never going to mean more than it does now, because anybody that gets in could easily represent the East in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Agreed.
No doubt. Another good problem that they're going to have is now with Horvat back, they've got a glut of forwards now. Now, the next injury is always right around the corner. We know that. But what do you think they do here, Arthur? Last night it was Duclair who sat. But Wass said it's going to be a problem. It's hard for me. Everyone's playing really well. How do they kind of balance having a good amount of forwards here, especially if they don't have injuries?
Yeah, I think you have to look at who's not just producing, because the offense has really been kind of stuck in neutral for a while since Horvat went out. And I think you need to give it a little bit of time with him back in. But there are some guys that are not producing a lot. Jonathan Drouin, I think 2 points in his last 15 games, no goals. Simon Holmstrom came out of a big funk, and he's been playing really well. JG Pageau, since he's been back from injury, really not producing a whole lot. So I think they've, it's going to be an interesting situation. Duclair was the guy. I feel like Cal Ritchie has done some good things, but I don't know if you're going to keep going with him. He had a couple of rough games back before the break. So I think there are definitely some candidates. If you look at it kind of from the negative production side, from the positive side, the team is playing exceptionally good defensively, not giving up a lot. The way they started the year, where they were giving up goals left and right, even when they were winning games, you were like, it's going to be a wild ride this year. Now you look, they're 6th in the league in goals against. It's been a remarkable turnaround for them. A little bit at the cost of offense. Mm-hmm. You'd like to see their power play clicking a little bit better. I don't know that you can pin this just on one guy and keep Duclair out. So I would imagine they might rotate around and really, if they keep going, piling up the points, I'd be interested to see what Matthew Darche does. If they want to add and kind of get somebody that's maybe a little bit better at doing what they need those middle 6 wingers to do than what they've got right now. He does seem to be, Patrick Waugh seems to be really enamored of that 4th line as it's currently constituted with McLean, Cizikas, and Gatcomb. Okay, they've got their role. Horvat's going to have a role in the top 6 with Heineman. Barzal's going to be up there. But I think a lot of other spots, you probably want to see a little bit more chance generating, a little bit more up the ice than they've given in a consistent 60-minute effort. So I think if they make a change and put Duclair back in, there are some candidates to come back out. And I would imagine that, if it's a Drouin, if it's a Richie, if something like that, it might feel like it's a surprise. But I think there's some guys that could be doing a little bit more offensively to kind of generate some things.
And Arthur, before we let you go, what do you attribute to that defensive turnaround? Because, I think we definitely expected this to be a roller coaster season of maybe a lot of 4-3, 5-4 games with the way that they were giving up goals and also potting them. And, like you said, it's gone down on both sides of the coin here. What do you attribute to them tightening things up in front of the goaltending?
I think part of it is the goaltending, Sean. It's just these two guys are playing at such a high level. Sorokin especially, we talked about it, any site that measures goalie metrics, I go with Clearside Hockey. My buddy Steve Valaket's really well done site. Sorokin's, I think he's over 16 goals saved above expectation. He's 3 clear of Logan Thompson for first in the league. David Rittich's up there in the top 15 as well. I think it starts from the goalie on out that those two guys have figured out how to play behind a team that tries to play fast and play up the ice where, like I said, you're going to give up some chances. You just have to make sure you're there for 95% of them, and your team's going to have success, and they've really done that. And I think defensively, what Matthew Schaefer has been able to do for the group of 5 on the ice, where he gets out of trouble, gets other teams into trouble up the ice so effortlessly that I think it's kind of been an infectious sort of effect that the team plays a lot faster. You saw it last night too. They gave up 3 2-on-1s in the first period. The Rangers kind of fumbled a couple of them around, but they gave up those odd man rushes, and they really tightened up after that. The Rangers maybe are a special case because they can't hit water if they saw out of a boat these days. But I think you have to be willing to live with giving up chances and not let it multiply and grow and say, oh gosh, we gave this up. We can't do it again. And then suddenly you're trying to do too much and you're giving up a minute of zone time or whatever it is. They give up some rush chances, but you don't see them giving up a ton of zone time. They're able to get out of those situations where I think in previous years they were really, really scrambling a lot. So I don't know if that's a acceptance of Patrick Waugh's style or the Schaefer effect of they get it and go. But I think it's probably a bunch of different factors, but they're all working together really well to make this team have the puck a lot more and just stay out of those dangerous shifts, teams rolling shift after shift in their end.
Well, Arthur, miss you today, buddy, but appreciate you calling in, man. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. And I'll see you next week. All right, pal?
Thanks a lot, boys, and enjoy Donnie's hospitality. It's great.
Thanks, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Arthur. All right, folks, that was the great Arthur Staple of Hockey Night New York and of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast. Always a great spot with Mr. Staple. And, buddy, talking about the defensive turnaround, I don't think the Rangers registered a shot on goal until 8 minutes to go in the first last night, pal.
No, they have turned things around, as you and Arthur were just saying. When you think about October and early November, they were, and I'll just give this to you from like my side of the coin, obviously doing betting and doing gambling every day.
Yeah.
They were a team in October, November. We were playing overs. They were overs every single night, over 6.5 goals, over 5. They were running in because they were playing wild games.
Right.
And they had a string of 10 out of 11 overs, just playing tons of overs. Mm-hmm. And now they have completely flipped in the past month, especially in December, where they are now under every single night. That it's become a different.
I think that was a little Horvat effect too.
A little Horvat effect, but I think that it's even more than that because, like you guys were saying, it's a little bit more of how the structure's changed a little bit too, in front of them, and they're playing and I think a big part of this too is. And it's weird, we spent all that time with Arthur, and we barely really brought Schaefer up, except just for
I want to talk to you about him later. Yeah.
So I think when we talk about him later, I think the first 6 weeks it was a lot of look at the points and look at the offense and look at everything. Mm-hmm. I think that he hasn't been registering the points as much lately, and I get that's been a team-wide thing, but he's still playing 27 minutes a night, and he's being put out there, and I know 6 of that
and pucks aren't going in,
and I know 5 to 7 of those minutes a night are power play time, and all that,
Sure.
but he's being put on the ice in these defensive situations, and you talk about learning on the job, and he's doing it good enough that he's still being put out there, even if he is hitting now. You got to remember, hitting 40 games for him. he didn't play a lot last year.
Barely.
He hasn't played a lot. He's,
Right.
he's still a
Right.
kid, and he's a lot's been put on his shoulders. And I think he has learned from the Pelicans. That's why I wanted to ask Arthur that. He's learned a little from the Pelicans
Sure,
and Kulaks about
sure.
that side of the game,
Right.
as much as he's maybe making those guys contribute a little bit on the offense.
I think that's a great point.
So.
Well, folks, that will do it for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, ready to fight when your good name is on the line. So we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we're going to What's on Tap. We'll be right back.
When in need of representation, it's not always easy to know where to turn. But whether you've been accused of a crime or need to go to court, Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, have you covered with over 100 years of combined experience. With offices in Manhattan, Mineola, and Suffolk, Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein is an award-winning law firm specializing in criminal defense with additional expertise in business debt settlement, trust and estates, personal injury, and more. At Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, you'll have direct access to your attorney 24/7. Because more attentive service translates to better outcomes. You deserve legal representatives with national recognition and a strong track record of delivering results. And Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein are ready to fight for you. Call 212-LAW-1500 or go to razorandkniff.com to schedule a free, no-risk consultation today. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com. Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein. We win cases because we make your problems our problems.
Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It's Hockey Night in New York, and we're hanging out at Bagel Boss in Hewlett, the great Bagel Boss in Hewlett, with our friend Donnie Bagels and Company.
Love Donnie Bagels.
And it is now time for What's on Tap, a look ahead at the Islanders' upcoming schedule. And we're only, just over a few hours away, pal. The Islanders against the Columbus Blue Jackets, basement of the East right now. And as we learned on location here from our man T. Boyle, Zach Werenski will not be in the lineup tonight.
Not in the lineup.
What do you say to that?
They've had, as Arthur mentioned, they're kind of a NHL version of 500, right? 15-15.
Yeah.
And 6. This is actually their first game. They didn't play yesterday. They haven't played since
the 22nd. They beat the Kings.
Well, they were on the California trip
right
before, which actually they had a weird California trip because they didn't have San Jose. Usually everyone does all 3.
Right.
And you know how I am with schedules and travel
Yes,
and all,
yeah.
and I worry about all this stuff. They are a rare East Coast team that did not do all 3 California stops in one trip.
Really?
Really. Their San Jose is part of their Seattle.
I was just going to say Vancouver.
And Western Canada trip later in the year.
Interesting.
So it's very bizarre that a team in the East doesn't do all 3 California stops, but they did go in and played a tight game with the Ducks that they lost 4-3, and they beat the Kings, and they haven't played.
3-1.
So now you have both sides of the coin here in a game like this. You have one team that hasn't played in almost a full week.
Right.
And that's off the holiday, things like that. And you kind of saw in a lot of these games yesterday, not just the Islander Ranger game, that it does take teams a little bit to get adjusted coming out of a long break like
absolutely.
that. And even though you're probably thinking, second night of a back-to-backs are tough, you're coming in. Yes, but if there's ever a night I want to do a second night of a back-to-back, it's against a team that hasn't played in a week. That's the one time where you do want to do it because they're got to get in the cobwebs out.
Got to shake the rust off,
things. So I think this is a spot where, once again, like last night, I look to the Islanders' first period is huge tonight. I know they're a little tired, but that other team hasn't played. I think it's a nice spot where they can bounce on Columbus early in this game. And if it's tight late, listen, the legs will probably get there for Columbus before they will for the Isles in the third period. But it's a game where I think they can take advantage early in the game and maybe hold on late when Columbus is finally feeling themselves and making that charge.
I like it. And what's your opinion on Rittich getting the back-to-backs here instead of putting Hogberg in there?
I wouldn't play that Hogberg. I wouldn't play him.
Okay.
So I wouldn't.
Hard to argue with how Rittich's been playing.
I can't. And good point by Arthur too about he did take some shots last night.
Yeah.
And it's not like every game is different. And sometimes you guys can sit there in the net and do nothing all night and just some guys get banged around, and there was a bunch of plays to play behind the net that they called a penalty on the Rangers. You had a couple of guys banging into him. So, but at the end of the day, I would play him again. Now, not knowing
If he's good to go.
now,
sure.
look, a lot of this also does factor in what, we don't know as much about Sorokin's injury as they do. If they know
Right.
that, if they know that he's going to be good for, let's say, Tuesday against the Blackhawks,
Play Rittich.
then you play him knowing
Yeah.
that he's going to be. Now, if they
Sure.
don't think he's going to be available, I think that it was very telling, and I think Arthur did say that.
Yeah,
it's
good
very
point.
telling if he plays or not tonight, because if
Right.
he plays, it kind of tells you that they're going to Sorokin back on Tuesday. If he doesn't play, it means that they're going to need Rittich again on Tuesday against Chicago. So that's because they're playing Tuesday, Wednesday. Right? They're playing back
They're
to back.
playing
I believe.
Tuesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
The
Tuesday,
Mammoth
Thursday,
is, Mammoth
Saturday.
is Thursday. That
Correct.
Mammoth game, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
New Year's
so-
Day, buddy.
And that's at
New
home.
Year's Day matinee, yeah.
New Year's Day matinee at the stable, huh? At
Yeah.
the horse track.
That's right.
Wow, what's that? Was 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock,
That's a
5
3
o'clock?
o'clock.
Oh, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Wow, at least they give you a few hours to
I
get,
suppose so.
to get
Yeah, right.
straightened up after the night
After the
before,
night, yeah,
right?
yeah.
They give you a couple hours to get ready.
Big plans for New Year's Eve, buddy?
No, probably not. No,
Yeah, we're not
those
that
days,
age anymore, huh?
Those days are kind of
Yeah,
long gone, especially
yeah.
when you got a couple little ones. It just doesn't
Right, right.
compute. Usually now we go to like these parties where they do like a pretend New Year's Eve at 9 o'clock, or something like that. Like it's like I'm not kidding.
Fake ball drop?
I'm not kidding. Like that stuff happens.
Amazing.
So they do that for the kids, and then that's kind of where I'm at now. For
Okay.
New Year's Eve.
Fair enough. Well, moving on to Thursday. Yes. Oh, sorry, Tuesday. Excuse me.
Tuesday,
They go
Blackhawks.
into Chicago. That's an 8:30 p.m. start. These are guys that were flirting with the playoffs for a bit. They were in the mix. They were winning some hockey games, looking like maybe they were finally kind of coming out of that rebuilding phase. But 2-8 in their last 10, pal. Plummeted back to the bottom of the Western Conference.
Yeah, they actually played really well in October and November. They were a surprising team for me. I
Right.
thought, and Bedard really was playing well.
He still is.
And he's been he got banged up though. Hasn't he been out for a little bit? I think
He
Or
might
maybe
have
he's
been.
come back
What I
in.
can tell you is he has
But-
44 points in 31 games.
Yeah, but I
did note that.
I'm pretty sure that he's been out of the lineup for a little bit here. So I would have to just look at that. And again, I haven't worked in the last couple of days, so I don't have this off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I'm
that's
pretty
fine.
sure that
We'll
he's
allow it.
been out of the lineup for a few. And yeah, he didn't play the other night. He's out for a while. He got hurt. So
Okay.
he's not going to be there. And that's really what's attributed to their kind of looking like the team from last
Yeah,
year.
that makes a lot of
and
sense.
that goes back to
Yeah.
it because, look, it's a road game, which is tough, but it's a team that you've been better than this year and you should beat.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, the Islanders have played a bulk of their schedule against tougher teams. And we saw a week recently where they had Vancouver, right?
Right.
And they had Buffalo. Now, Buffalo's been on a tear here.
Fire.
But they didn't do so well against those teams. So
Playing
they kind
down
of.
to competition.
Right. So we have to see how they do tonight against Columbus, again against
Yeah,
Chicago.
this is a stretch for them, to be fair, this whole week here. These are not
Mediocre or
top,
worse.
top of the league teams that they're
Right.
playing. You look, all these teams,
And as you've said, best teams get best.
best teams
When
get
playing
playing
the
the best
best
competition.
competition.
So this is a spot where you may be a little sleepy here over
Right.
the next week, and you don't want that.
No.
And I don't think it would be. They haven't had I know you bring up that Vancouver and Buffalo back to back from a couple weeks ago, but they haven't had a prolonged week plus stretch or 5+ game stretch of subpar play. They haven't really
You're right.
thrown
They
that
haven't.
together, and
Right.
I can't imagine that this week when you're playing Columbus, Chicago, Utah, and look, Toronto.
And the miserable Toronto Maple Leafs. It
Toronto
sounds so good
Leafs.
to say that.
What a shame how bad they are. This is not a time of the, after how well you've played and you've got yourself to second in the division and third in the conference and all these things, this is not the week where you step back. It just
Right.
isn't. So, you think 8 points on the table, like, I think 5 or 6 is what you're striving for.
absolutely.
You're striving for something
Well,
like
see,
that.
That's what they failed to do that week, was to even create a little bit of space
Right.
between them and the teams below them, right? This is another opportunity to do that. Now, it's not like it's going to be a wide ocean here,
Right.
but at least if they can, bank some points against some of these teams here who aren't the greatest in the league, then all of a sudden you at least get a little bit of breathing room.
Right.
If not towards the top, at least keeping yourself away from the bottom, right?
Yeah, that's that. It's very important. And like you said, even if you don't take 6 out of 8 points, like you got to take at least 4. You know, like you got to make sure you get half of the points coming your way. And it is so tight right now, and the margin between being in the top 3 and being outside of the entire playoff picture is very small. And as much as we like to do the what a shame for the Rangers and things like that,
they're right there.
As they've played, and they've got a billion games where they haven't scored in 20% of their games.
If the Rangers had have won in regulation last night, they would be tied in points right now.
Yeah. So
that's how slim the margin is.
It's very small, and all it takes is a bad week against a bunch of subpar teams to put you back in the muck with everybody else.
Exactly.
Just right there. So you have to take advantage to weeks like this.
All right, so last couple of notes on Chicago before we move on to Utah. They did beat Dallas in a shootout win 4-3 last night.
Well,
so, you know, that's a pretty good team to beat.
And that's a good team to beat, but I think that's a little bit of, like I said, I feel like when all these teams, I thought that yesterday was such a tricky day because all of these teams having 3 days off and 4 days off and coming back from a break where as I think Paulie put it when we were doing the Go Sports radio show earlier in the week, you know, everybody, you know, NFL, NBA, they all play on Christmas and they all do these things where he put it as the NHL raises the white flag for 3 days.
Okay, sure.
Just quits.
Sure.
But it's tough for them to get ramped back up
Yeah.
off of all that.
Yeah, especially doing the holidays, all the festivities and all that. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And Spencer Knight putting up good numbers.
Having a good year.
2.55 goals against, 914 save percentage. So it's not going to be a walk in the park versus the Hawks.
No.
They got to show up.
Got to show up. You got to show up against every team. There's no team that I have seen this year where and I've seen pretty much them all. I love the West Coast games. I see all these Western teams. I'm betting on all. There has not been a team that I can say, you know, this team is a complete run over.
There you have it.
There's really none.
All right, so moving on to January 1st, 2026. New Year's Day, like we said, 3 p.m. tilt against the Utah Mammoth, also playing 500 hockey, just below the playoff cutoff line in the West. They got guys like Schmaltz, Keller, Gunther, Cooley, Sergachev over there, getting sub-500 goaltending from Vejmelka and Vanacek. This is a team who I think we thought was going to finally break out and get into the playoff mix this year. They can't get it together.
Not me.
Oh, no?
Nah.
Talk about it. What do you got?
This team. I don't think they're that great. I don't.
Because they're in Salt Lake?
It's not even. I don't like that they.
You don't like the logo?
I hate that they put a name on. I would have kept.
You wanted the Utah Hockey Club?
Should have kept them as the hockey team.
I don't know. That's a soccer
club.
thing, buddy.
But you got to start to get these things integrated here.
No,
they're just there's just nothing great about them. There's nothing.
Okay.
They're like a middle of the road. But you going to the game? Forget about all this stuff. You going to the game on New Year's Day?
I probably am.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock's enough time to get yourself back together after the New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Whatever you do on that night.
Yeah.
But
much.
3 o'clock's not too bad. The Mammoth, I can't with the Mammoth. They're just so boring. And there's just nothing about them. It's just the Mammoth.
Have you watched a lot of Mammoth games?
I've seen a couple, actually, believe it or not. Yeah?
Born hockey?
Yeah. It's not,
Born over by the mountains?
Yeah, it's not exciting.
Okay.
It's not. It's almost like, and it's typical because it came from Arizona. They weren't exciting either. So it's the same.
Well, I guess that's true.
It is the same team, just slapped with a different.
Even though
name.
You don't like that they changed the name. What do you think of the branding, the logo, the mammoth, all that?
I don't love it. I don't love it.
Thumbs down on the mammoth.
It's a thumbs down. I think that there was a lot of other ways they could have went, and I don't love it. I think it's silly.
Did you have another name in mind?
I forget what the finalists were. I really thought that they should have stuck with the hockey club. I think that would have fit.
Well, then there was the whole Yeti thing. They were gonna, and then I think they ran into literally. The thermoses were a problem.
The legal, there was a legal eagle
the thermos
situation
got in the way. Yeah, the coolers.
But no, it's Yeti.
Okay.
You gotta find something else.
So
I don't know.
Is this 2 points for the Isles here? What do you think?
It should be.
Okay.
But I don't look. We say these things, and you're putting it in a city with Columbus, Chicago. They all sound like 2 points. They're not going to get 2 points. They're going to blow a couple of these.
And the Isles have been good on the road. When you talk about tonight in Chicago,
good on the road.
Yeah.
So look, I think that if you just take these 3 games, because the Toronto game is obviously a little bit of another animal, and it's still a week away, and I think when you take these 3, I think winning 2 out of every 3 is just, I know it doesn't sound, but it piles them up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's
good hockey.
I don't think it matters which 2 it is of these next 3, but if you win 2 out of 3, I think that's
right.
where you want to be.
All right, well, let's look at the 4th one, and that is Saturday the 3rd against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is a 7 p.m. puck drop. They are in the Atlantic Division basement. Big struggles.
What a shame.
You hate to see it.
Yeah,
right?
What a shame.
You just
It
hate to
really
see it up
is.
there.
And this is also it's another home game for them, too. There's a stretch of games at home also at UBS that you have to take care of. And Toronto's not playing well.
Well, who knew that if you let Mitch Marner go for nothing, things are going to turn out pretty poorly for you?
It actually was a chance for them to kind of, and I know they didn't want to do this, but it was a chance for them to strip the entire thing down and start over. And I know you don't want to do that, but it hasn't worked. And what I would have did if I was them was, if I lost Marner, I wouldn't have brought Tavares back either. I would have, and I actually thought it wasn't smart on him to re-sign there. I think that with where he is in his stage of his career, he should have went and took a shorter deal for less money in Colorado or Dallas or one of those teams and tried to chase a cup. I think that would have, but he's got so much loyalty. That's one thing that he's a pillar.
He gave up his soul to that franchise.
But he's a pillar of loyalty, and one of the things that he wanted, he's so loyal to everyone, and I feel like he was so loyal to Toronto for what they did for him with the 7-year deal that he wanted to pay them back.
He found loyalty after the summer of 2018, right?
He's
somewhere around that time.
And he wanted to make sure that he didn't just leave them in the lurch. So he's gone back.
Not.
He's gone back to them, and I would have
Gave
chased.
up the C.
I would have chased. Another thing, I would have never went back if they told me I couldn't be the captain anymore. That's another thing that I would have just completely.
That
left.
was
But this
must-see
guy's
TV.
he's a
pal.
glutton for punishment. So I would have went to Colorado or Dallas if I was him. They didn't. I would have maybe start to explore.
What a shame. He could have been hanging out with Brock.
And I think that
And
if
Devon.
there is a guy in the NHL who needs a new home more than Austin Matthews, because you could see the look on his face.
Yes, I was just
Every
going to say
time,
that, man.
every time the season ends, you watch him with.
You don't even need to wait till then now.
And look, and there's like 75 members of the Toronto media all standing in front of him with a microphone, and he's got this look on his face like this is the last place I ever want to be. And I'm going to tell you where he should go. This would be the perfect place for him to go.
The New York Islanders?
No, he's never going. This is because a guy like him who has been through such misery in that place, with how the media is and how much
Misery
pressure
deluxe.
there is and all those things.
Sure.
He would be the perfect guy to go to the ski cabin in Utah with the Mammoths. I'm not kidding. And live
It would have been more perfect if it was still Arizona.
and live in
Go back home.
Yeah, and just live in the woods, go and play. No one's gonna. There's like 2 people covering the team as opposed to 75.
Right.
He needs a place like that. You know, another place that would be good for him.
Sure.
San Jose. It's like another place would be great for him.
Sure.
A place he needs to go to a place in America where he's not going to be bothered and he could just play hockey and he could just do it because he's now it's all up here. They've beaten him down.
Dude, only
Too much.
15 goals in 32 games for him.
He's been injured a little bit too.
Sure, but that's
not
Matthews' goals
There is just
production.
Mentally, he's been broken.
He's checked out.
And he
He's
needs
done.
to go somewhere where he can
Over there.
just live life, play hockey. And if you know what, I don't know if he obviously they all want to win. Like I know that sometimes you say guys like that guy doesn't want to win.
No.
I don't know if that's the case. You need to
He
be
better want to
put in-
win for
you need to
the
be
U.S. in the Olympics.
put in the right situations for those things.
Right.
And I feel like a place like San Jose who's building some young players now and
Mm-hmm.
just being in a place where there's like 3 people that cover the team as opposed to 75. I think it will help him a lot. I really do.
Yeah, I just think at this point in his career, he's not going to be wanting to join a project. I think if he is going to leave, he's got to go somewhere that's established, like Colorado or something like that.
I think that money and anonymity would be fine. Like be disappearing into the woods.
Anywhere but Toronto.
I think he needs to be
anywhere but Toronto.
No, I don't think he'd go to any of those places. The Toronto's, the Montreal's, the Edmonton. He's done.
No
with all that.
Canada.
Yeah, I mean,
South
look,
of the border.
it just means more there, and I just don't. He's not going to be a part of it. He just isn't, and he just like I said, he needs to go hide. That's
He
really
needs to
what
go hide. All right,
just
well,
play hockey.
Well, hopefully the Maple Leafs hide 2 points for the Islanders at
That would
UBS
be-
Arena.
We'd have no problem.
We'd
with
like
that.
to see that. No goals
Hopefully
for
they don't.
number 91, and just a nice little victory for the boys from Long Island. All right,
That would be great.
So that's gonna do it for what's on tap, buddy. Great stuff, great conversation there. We're gonna get into heroes now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, go ahead. You got a hero for the week?
What's that? Do I?
Hero of the week,
I do,
right?
actually. Yeah, I do. Let's get into it. We got some
I like
theme
the
music,
This
right?
is great.
Triumphant, right?
Music for it. and
Heroic.
everything. There is a hero.
That's
heroic
right.
for it.
That's right. All right, so you want to start this off, buddy? You want me to go first?
Yeah, no, you know what? You go first
Yeah?
because I feel like you're going to give the actual hero of the week.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I definitely...
I didn't want to give the same
I went with
guys
the...
here.
no, I like that. I like because it gives us two guys to talk about. All right, very good. All right, folks, so I'm going to go first if I remember what button to hit because, unfortunately, Ed's not with us today.
Where's Ed?
He's under the weather, pal.
Come on.
Yeah, so I'm back to
Ed's
running the
gotta-
board for the first
Ed's
time in a
gotta-
long time.
Come on, Ed. I love
It's a
you. Ed,
skeleton
but
crew here.
you gotta get.
Jake had plans. I mean, the weather screwed us up.
Does
What are you
Jake
gonna
know
do?
how to do it too? Jake could have did it.
Yes, he would have been running the
Okay.
board. Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? We're doing our best. I think we're doing
You
okay.
did all right. You made it through. You're almost done.
Almost done.
You're
We're
right
almost at
there.
the finish
You're
line.
right there.
All right, so surprise, surprise, David Rittich, big save, Dave, outstanding in Ilya Sorokin's little absence here for his nagging injury. Great game against the Devils. Great game against the Rangers. Gets himself a shutout in there, and 1 goal between the 2 games. You can't ask for more. And listen, it's just been this. The Islanders have had a really good string of good luck with bringing in goalies to this franchise,
Yeah.
starting with the Halaks, the Greises, the
I
Lenners.
like the Grice comparison from Arthur.
Yeah,
earlier,
I did
This
too.
is
I
very
did too.
nice.
But you go back to that lineage, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing in even these guys who are on a short-term deal, whatever it is. But they've had Varlamov come in, of course. Like they've had some very good tandems over the course of time. And I know going into this season after Rittich was signed, and even myself, I was like, how's this guy going to be? I looked at some of his numbers and I was like, not great. Let's see how he does. And so far, he's been well exceeding expectations. He's been
Yeah.
spectacular.
He's been unbelievable,
Right?
Especially if you're talking about just for this week, what he's doing with Sorokin out of the lineup, and he's stepping in and played great against the Devils. Played great last night against the Rangers.
Yeah.
Probably going to have to do it again tonight against Columbus. That's just he's really when your backup can kind of carry the mail for you a little bit when your starter's down. It's enormous, and he's doing that for them right now. So that's a well-earned hero of the week for him.
Okay, so you mixed it up. So let's hear
I
what you
mixed
got,
it up,
bud.
and we kind of did a lot of this with Arthur, but I'll say it's Pelech for me, actually.
Hey,
It's Adam Pelech this
number
week.
3.
For 2 reasons. Number 1, for the game-winning goal against the Devils earlier in the week. And number 2, kind of like what my question was to him. I just feel like the way that he has gotten kind of back to himself. And listen, he could still be a traffic cone out there once in a while. There's no doubt about that. But kind of earn. He can't. I mean, listen, he's not the
Not this
fastest.
season.
Not the fastest guy.
Oh, yeah,
on
sure,
the ice.
sure,
And there's
sure.
some times where, but he's gotten back to where he's an integral part of what they do.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
just like him and Pulak were during those runs, he's gotten back to being that. And the way those two guys are kind of shepherding Schaefer as well, I think that it's huge. So with the game-winning goal, and just because I haven't gotten to talk to him, I'm going to use Pelech as my hero of the week.
I think that's great. It's a great choice, and this is a player who Arthur and I have been singing praises about all season.
Yeah.
And maybe a few weeks to a month into the season where he really found his groove.
Yeah.
And Pullock too. The two
Yeah.
of them, they look like vintage Pelech and Pullock.
It's nice to see. I mean,
Pullock is still hitting the glass
they're
when he winds up for a slap shot.
making lots of money. So I mean, it's nice to see that.
Not for nothing, man.
I know the deals aren't. as bad.
The deals are not as bad, especially with the way the cap is going. If they continue to play this way, through the rest of their contracts, those are actually going to look really good.
I actually was hoping they would play this well, that they could be potentially guys who may deal at
They
the
ain't
deadline.
dealing nobody if they keep this up.
No, things have changed. I mean, I'm talking about preseason when you thought about it. Like maybe if these guys played well enough, there would be teams that would look at them and go, look at how many playoff games these guys have played. Like, these could be good ads for us, and that would have been more assets for the Islanders to maybe acquire. I thought that I wanted them to play well enough for that reason to maybe move them. But now, obviously, things have changed to where they're a part of this,
Buddy,
what they're doing here.
They might add, pal.
Yeah, no, again, and this is why
about that here, too.
Expectations change depending
Sure.
on what happens. Whatever
Yeah.
your expectations were in September, they change on January 1st or wherever you are in the season. So you have to kind of move the line in the sand a little bit depending on where you're at.
That's true, and we're getting some great comments in the chat here. The Chronicles of Rittich, that's a
Wow.
great reference. That was a panned movie, Vin Diesel. I love that movie. That's like one of those under-the-radar films. You ever see that one?
Maybe back when it came out.
Vin Diesel,
but
Fandy Newton.
I know the
the
new
butcher
movie.
from
I
The
know
Boys.
movie.
What's his name? I can't remember. Carl Urban.
Oh, Carl. I don't.
Carl.
Carl. I know the movie. I don't. The last time I watched it was probably when it came out in the late '90s. Was probably the last time that I saw it. Early 2000s,
Okay.
whenever that movie came
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I was right around
But
there.
yeah,
early
I haven't.
2000s.
I
All right.
haven't dabbled in it in a while.
Yeah,
It's no
but have
Fast
you
and the
seen how
Furious.
high Pella can jump, Kirsten? Kirsten has. Yeah, we got some great stuff here.
Good.
Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick from Rob on the Fly. Pitch Black. Yeah, that was the first one. That's right.
Maybe I was thinking of Pitch Black.
Yeah, that was the first one.
That was the Vin
Chronicles
Diesel
of Riddick was a sequel.
Yeah, that was the sequel.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good
he's
one.
a sequel guy. He's made, 150 Fast and the Furious movies. So.
You know, I haven't seen one of those.
Really?
Zero Fast and the Furious
No, I haven't.
movies.
I've
Zero.
I've
interest.
seen the first one a lot, but like enough times in my life where I know the movie.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't. I don't know how many they've made, and I don't.
At
know.
least 17.
Yeah, I haven't.
Give or take.
I've been off the.
A lot of cars in the world.
You know,
A lot of
I
countries
know
to
they
drive
got
in.
The Rock in the mix. Like I haven't seen any of the ones
Yeah,
with the Rock. Like,
yeah.
I don't know anything about
the dude
it
from
after that.
Snatch, I think, got into one.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Vinny Jones.
Jason Statham.
Oh, Jason. Well, I thought Vinny Jones.
I don't think Vinny Jones made
He
the
wasn't. He was Vinny
I
Jones.
don't think so.
It's a few. Well, Jason
Snatch,
Statham.
though, great movie.
Yes.
All right,
great
we're getting
movie.
off the rails here.
We are.
I love it, though. I love it. All right, well, that will do it for Hero of the Week, presented by Knock Hockey. Get your board
Yes.
at knockhockey.com. And now I'm going to tell you guys about, oh, God, I don't have the card in front of me. Isles Fix. That's right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, Islanders country. Get your daily fix, your Monday through Friday fix from Isles Fix straight to your inbox. That's right. Go to substack.islesfix.com. You can get it for free. You can sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits. Off the cuff, buddy. Look at that. No card needed.
You don't need a card.
We're doing it all here tonight.
Tremendous. Joe does a great job.
He
there.
does.
So absolutely, I get it in my email every morning.
There you
I
have
get the
it.
Isles Fix. So
As
it's right there for me.
Do I? Well, now we're going to go into questions brewing. And yeah, I think I have some music for that too.
Do you?
It's time for Questions
Wow.
Brew. So go ahead, ask us a question.
Ask us a question.
Bam.
like
Yes,
that.
sad but true. Edzo is not here to run the
Well,
questions.
he usually asks the questions, right?
Oh no,
Like, this
yeah,
is
no,
Ed-
he's the
Ed's
guy
usually-
running the
Ed
board.
asks
He's running the chat.
questions.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're taking care of all of it here. Hey, buddy, you got a Miss Seed comment in the chat there, pal.
I know. I've had a few of those lately.
Bob
I've had a few of
RZ66.
those.
Yeah.
I know. I miss it too.
We all miss you, buddy.
I miss it too.
All right, so I'm gonna scroll through the chat here.
Go
See what
ahead.
we got. All right, well, you know what? We're in the house here. T. Boyle at Bagel Boston Hewlett. We're
In
gonna
the
start
house.
it off.
You have
with
to go first if you got.
Thomas
if you're in the
Boyle.
house.
Okay, what is happening with the arena situation for the Olympics?
Oh, is
You
this?
hear about
Are you
that?
talking about how it's like too small?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to tell you, anybody who tells you that they think that they're not going to send these guys, they're nuts. They're playing those games, so they're all going to be there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a half a foot and a half smaller and all. They're going to play. Okay. Now I've seen all the nonsense and Bill Daly telling you. With his press conferences about the guys are going to the Olympics. They're going to play there.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
And if they don't add their 1.5 centimeters of ice space to the corner, they're still going to play. So that's been my feeling on it the whole time.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you. It's gonna happen. I mean, is it gonna have any effect on the quality of the play?
No.
You know, and they have another rink, I think, that's regular size.
And they love to tell
So-
the bigger ice and all. Stop. It's hockey.
Are
Just
you
let's go.
excited for the Olympics?
I am.
Okay.
I get into it. I like it when the NHL players are there. I think it adds an element to it. Watching these last couple of Olympics not having the NHL players in it has been a little different. You know, I don't think it has as much juice and gas as it does, and especially since it's been, you got to remember something. We've now gone long enough since the NHL players have been there that there is a generation of stars who have not played
Correct.
in the Olympics, and I'm obviously on the high end, the Connor McDavids and things like that.
Yep.
You know, these guys have not gotten to be on that stage, so
Right.
I think that part of it is really cool. And I love it. I think that you got a small taste of it with the Four Nations last year, and
Right.
and they did
And that
a
was
really
great,
and they
yeah.
did a really nice job with that. But it was very obviously USA Canada focused, and I get that because of where we are. But those other countries, when they bring their team's best on best, that they can show up. All these European countries.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it makes it for a really fun tournament.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm excited, buddy. We're only, literally about just over a month away.
It's 5 weeks. It's just
Love it.
It's right there.
Can't wait. All right, thanks for the question, Tom. Moving on, questions brewing from Mr. Thomas Panic. How much crap do you think Rempe is taking from his teammates after that reverse hit from Shabby, better known as Shabanov?
I actually wouldn't.
Good stuff.
If I was them, I wouldn't even play him anymore. And I'm gonna. And it's not
It's
because
kind of a show,
no,
right?
it's not because I what I think of him as a hockey player.
Okay.
I think that what made him important to them, they have now basically told him not to do it anymore. So what made him a
right? So what's the point?
What made him a problem on the ice and a nuisance, if you will, they have now told him not to do it. So then why have him in the lineup? Why play him? If he's not allowed to be an agitator and to get into fights and to do then why have him out there? So
it's a fair point.
That's how I feel about it.
You know what though? That's the Rangers' problem.
It certainly is.
Not our problem. But yeah, they probably were laughing at him and ridiculing him, and hopefully they still are. Okay, moving on. Jeremy Devon, I'm doing my best here.
Ooh.
Do you think it's random for Siplikov to be sitting between Horvat and Lee in the dressing room, or is this just part of the team's fabric and looking out for one another? There's probably some method to that madness, right?
In terms of where their lockers are?
Yeah.
I don't look into things like that.
You got no time for that?
Nah, yeah, look, I'm sure, and I'm not, I'm half joking. I don't.
Okay.
But, I mean, maybe... sure. I guess if you wanted to look a little deeper, I would have to know more about the ins and outs of. That's like a Darsh and a Wah thing. What or do they think that matters? That would be what it's really about.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no matter where you're sitting in that room, everybody's got to be pulling the same rope, no matter where they are.
Right.
And
right.
so
right.
I think it's not that big of a deal. Personally.
Sure. Does it have a huge effect on the performance on the ice? No, but I think there definitely is some strategizing going on with who they want sitting next to who, whether maybe it's a young guy next to a veteran, that sort of thing, to help acclimate them to the game, to the team, all that stuff. That makes sense to me. Now, why Siplikov specifically next to them, I couldn't tell you. I mean, they're two leaders, right? Horvat's been a captain in Vancouver. Lee's obviously the captain here in New York, so maybe there's something there to help put some wisdom on Siplikov, if they can even get through the language barrier.
Yeah, you got that too.
But interesting question nonetheless. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Oh, this is a fun one from Big Time 1972. Rate these contracts 1 through 5, with worst being number 1. Duclair, Engvall, Mayfield, Romanov, and Pulock. What do you think, pal? Or maybe just an overall opinion.
I mean, the Engvall's pretty bad, right? I mean, it's
a long one.
You see, you got different things though there. What do you consider worse, term or money? Like what? There's a lot of things that you have to kind of factor in.
Sure.
We were just talking about Pulock and how, he's kind of gotten himself back up a little bit this year. So, and I forget off the top of my head how many years are left in that deal. Is it 2
I
or
don't
3?
remember either. I don't have it in front of me.
Whatever it is.
If
but
somebody wants to chime in, they can.
Look, I think the Engvall deal is pretty bad, considering you're going to get.
Well, he's not playing.
Probably less than 0 out of him. I know, but when you think about even before he was when he wasn't playing,
sure.
He clearly isn't a guy that Wah likes either. So and I'm not sure if that's probably right there as the one.
I think the good news is
I think the Romanov. It's hard to put the Romanov in there.
He got off to a rough start this season, then he got hurt.
Look,
we got to see how he looks when he gets back.
There's way too much time left in that one, and I think that there's a little bit unfair to categorize that one as the worst out of that group that was given.
I think
there's still a lot to be decided in that.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, I think the good news is that the Islanders are getting themselves out of the cap hell that they were in fairly recently under Lou, right? Yeah. And Darsh has done a very good job, with the exception of the Romanov contract, of only signing guys to 2 years. You got the cap going up. I don't think cap space is going to be a huge problem here. So, yeah, you look at that list of names, and maybe you don't love all the deals that those guys have, but thankfully it's not crippling this team right now.
That could be one
that's the big thing for me.
That you look back at in a little while and you say, maybe it's not as bad if he's 3 years from now playing well and the market's better. That I think that there's too much time to determine what's going to happen with that one. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Bob RZ66 wants to know, what's your take on Shabanov's game so far? I've been impressed for the most part. I'm with you. I mean, there's some things that I like. Obviously, is there some things that he has to work on? Yeah, of course. But I think that for what his skill set is, it's needed on the team. I think absolutely. You'd like to see it grow a little bit more.
Sure.
And I think that those things will come as you continue to play a little bit more.
I like the skill that he brings to the team, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, the tenacity that he has there too, that he shows that he can also be a guy who can help out away from the puck.
Right.
Not just a skill guy who's going to maybe, put up assists and put up goals, but this is a player who seems to be capable of helping this team out and preventing goals as well. So I think that's a bonus there.
Big time.
All right, let's see. All right, this is an easy one.
Easy one.
From Big Time
I like
1972.
easy ones.
Do you guys ever see Varley playing another game for the Isles? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
But I think he's done.
I do too.
Like, I think he's done in general, like all together.
No, I do too.
I think-
Like,
I think
obviously, there's
it's-
been no word on that.
I think it's
and we
over.
have no inside information on that.
No, I think it's
But
just finished.
I agree. I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I'd say that as a no.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think
No,
he's
unfortunately.
a guy who's going to show up for the photographs. He's going to show up for the team
Yeah,
events. But which is a shame because he was great.
Yeah.
he was great.
He's a good album.
And unfortunately, the injuries can catch up with you.
They certainly
And
do.
hopefully we're wrong.
They get you at some point.
Hopefully we're
All the
wrong.
time.
All right, going back to Thomas Panik here. It seems like our pending UFAs this season are worth more to the Isles than any return they could bring on the open market. Agree or disagree?
Yes,
That's a good
agree.
question.
I do agree.
Yeah,
and I was a full in on getting rid of all these guys for assets. I was all in on it, and I even thought even if they were just hanging around a wild card spot, I would do it. I would still move them for the assets because I didn't think they've played well enough that you owe it to the guy. You don't break the team up when you're playing this well. Now, could they crash in the next?
Still
2
have a
months?
season to go, yeah.
Still a long time to go, but.
Right.
If they're playing like this up until that, you can't change. You can't just dump guys.
At the very least, you can't subtract, right?
No.
I mean, maybe they'll add, maybe they won't, but I don't think that you can let these guys go. And Mr. Panik, I think you hit it on the head there. They're worth more to the team right now than not. So I'm with you there. All right, going back to T-Boyle here. I hope this doesn't happen, but if Sorokin is out long term, is there another option in Bridgeport or via trade? I don't think there is in Bridgeport.
No, it's not in Bridgeport. I wouldn't want to play
Via
that guy.
trade? I mean, nobody sticks out to me. It doesn't mean there isn't
This
anybody,
doesn't sound
but I haven't been.
long-term.
It doesn't.
This doesn't sound long term.
Yeah, but I also haven't been scouring the league to see who might be available in a trade. So I don't.
I
know
mean,
the answer to
remember
that
something
question.
when you talk about guys being available in a trade. We've brought this up a couple times today. Basically, the entire league is like 5 points out of a playoff spot. So there's really like who's
going to be available?
Who's looking to get rid of guys? That's another thing that you have to factor in.
Right, for sure. All right, like the question. Let's do one more here.
One more.
From Jeremy Ford, Avon 4030. I think I hit it right this time. All right, do you feel the Isles can make it through the year on a rotation of Boquist, Mitchell, Warren, and say George? Or do you feel there is a need to bring in a Mike Riley type?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a need to bring somebody in.
Another defenseman,
Yeah.
depth defenseman to
Yeah, a
help.
little depth. I think that you need to have another guy. I wouldn't mind shoring up, those bottom slots and having some security back there. I'm not sure it's those guys I would put in as the security. I think you want to get, especially I'm very big on having guys that have a lot of playoff experience and have done it a lot.
Sure.
I think those guys mean a lot when you get into April and May. So I would look for somebody like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess the good news is we still have a couple of months to see if any of those guys can kind of, I guess, take the reins in that spot. But I'm with you. I think if they're going to be at least half serious about the playoffs, A, getting in, B, making some noise, bring in a veteran, bring in a guy who's been there, bring in a guy who can help out there. So, yeah, and I also don't think it's going to cost too much either because you're not going to shoot the moon here. You're not going to be going for a top-end guy. Just somebody who's steady, somebody who can protect the net and also maybe pot a couple of goals himself.
That's
right?
it. That's it. That's fine by me.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for Questions Brewing, which means that's going to do it for the show. If we didn't get to your questions, we'll get to them next time, but we appreciate all the participation. We even got a request for a welcome aboard, pal.
I can't.
I understand. I understand.
It's only been done in one spot. I can't do that. I can't. And I love you. I thank you for asking for that.
Yeah,
but
at least you're getting the love. I think that was from Rob on the Fly, I believe.
Well, Rob on the Fly. And I would like maybe you will hear it again soon.
He also said we're his heroes, so I guess we're doing a good job today.
You might hear it sooner than
appreciate that,
later.
Rob.
You might hear it sooner than later.
There
so
you
you
go.
never know.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, that was it for Questions Brewing, which means that's going to do it for the show. So we're going to queue up this. Oh, you want to keep going, buddy? You want to talk about some more stuff?
It's all right. It's good.
All right. Let's get on out of here. So, first and foremost, want to send a big thanks to Bagel Boss here in Hewlett. Thanks for hosting us here. Wonderful spot, great food. Come on down. Excellent place, excellent people, and it's always great to see our pal Donnie Bagels. And also a huge thanks to Mr. Arthur Staple for joining us, of course, the co-host here at Hockey Night New York. He will be back next week. Always a great spot from him. And, buddy, a huge thanks to you, sir.
Oh, thanks.
For filling in for Arthur Staple, man. Great to have you sitting next to me. A lot of fun, pal.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Always good to be here.
Yes, indeed. And, of course, a big thanks to our sponsors, starting with Knock Hockey. Less scrolling, more scoring. Check out knockhockey.com to get your board today. Great stuff over there. And, of course, a huge thanks to Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. And folks, if you haven't already, please rate, review, and subscribe. That helps us out big time. And hey, Mikey C, where can we find you on the Twitterverse, on the interwebs? Where you at, buddy?
At _CarverHigh_ on Twitter. Of course, Bet Rivers Betting Weekly Live every weekday at 4 p.m.
How's
East.
that going?
Good. Go Sports Radio a couple days a week. So a lot going on. A lot happening.
There you have it. You can find myself on Twitter and Blue Sky at HNiNY Hockey. You can follow the show on all social media platforms at Hockey Night NY. You can go to HockeyNightNY.com to check out the website. So, for Mr. Michael Carver,
Yeah.
I've been Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night New York. We'll be back at our regularly scheduled time at 8 p.m. next Sunday, live from Florida Media in Rockville Center. Arthur Staple will be back. We'll see you then. Have a great, happy New Year. We'll see you next time.